You're listening to Bridge the Gap Season 3, a podcast dedicated to inform, educate, and influence the future of housing and services for seniors. Powered by supporting partners OneDay, TIS Insurance, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. Learn more about this podcast at btgvoice.com.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap podcast, the senior living podcast with Josh and Lucas. We got a great show on deck for you today on a topic about recruiting in senior living. We have Kimberly Varley. She's the senior corporate recruiter at Retirement Center Management out of Houston, Texas. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks, Lucas and Josh, for having me today.
So excited to have you. And I was really fortunate to be on a Zoom call for the Young Professionals Networking Happy Hour. And I got to hear some of your story. And as soon as we got off of that call, I reached out to Josh and Sarah and I was like, I just had a talk with a very energetic new person to the industry who comes from the hospitality side of the world and really has a great story. And I think it's something that our audience would really like to hear. And so with that short introduction, give us some of your background and how you got involved in recruiting HR and hospitality.
Yeah, so I'm Kimberly Varley. I'm a senior recruiter with RCM. And so all my career has been in hotels, and I went to the University of Houston, the Hilton College. And when I graduated, there's really at that time, there were two career paths I could have chosen. It was either hotels or restaurants. And I 100% knew I did not want to go into restaurants. So I knew I wanted to take that hotel path. And I had enough experience in hotels to know that I didn't want the operation side. I didn't want to go front desk or food and beverage because I had worked in all those areas. And I was always intrigued with what HR did. Being able to select the people that come into the environment, into the workplace, being able to control, maybe who isn't the right fit, training, culture, all of it. And I said, I think that's where I want to be. And so when I graduated, there was, the companies at job fairs back then were, the Fairmont, the Omni, the, Starwood at the time. And so I said, okay, this is a career path I have to take. I knew I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I wanted to help people. That was the whole reason I got into hospitality, is I wanted to serve others, make a difference in people's lives. So, I took that career path. I worked in hotels for over 10 years, progressing in my HR career. And then I think this past couple of years, I said, what am I really passionate about in HR? Because, when you're HR manager, HR director, you do everything, whether it's benefits, employee relations. And what I really always, go towards is recruitment. That's what I'm passionate about, is finding those right people for the establishment. And, I also felt like I needed a change in my career. It's maybe hotels wasn't for me anymore. And when Retirement Center Management reached out to me about a recruiting position and learning more about senior living and understanding what senior living really is, I felt like it was the perfect career path for me. And it's been exciting. It's been exciting to see what I can bring to the table and what maybe we haven't done before that we're now doing, and what we're going to do in the future.
What was your first response when you were recruited by the senior living industry or the nursing home industry? What was your first reaction?
So, I've worked in 4 or 5 diamond establishments, from Fairmont, Omni to Mountain Shadows and Paradise Valley, that when RCM reached out to me, I'm like, nursing homes? I'm not going to work in a nursing home. And then I started looking up the company, doing research. What do these establishments really look like? So you have independent living, assisted living, memory care, and, getting a better understanding of, it's like a cruise ship on land. That's what one resident even told me one day. It's exciting and it feels like a hotel, but in a senior living environment, you have it operationally almost runs exactly like a hotel, except you have a clinical aspect, right? So, it's exciting because I think that, thinking about what you just said, nursing homes, senior living, it doesn't always have the best reputation, or you don't think luxury. And when I start looking at like our brand new community we opened last week, the Village of Southampton, you normally don't associate this word, but it's sexy. It is similar to a lot of the communities that or hotels I worked with in previously. It's sleek, modern, and that's exactly what this community is. I actually went to the community yesterday, and walking through it, I was like, I could live here. Like, sign me up. Where do I sign up? And they were like, you are not old enough, and can you afford this? So, but it's not what I imagined it was going to be, and it's even better.
Well, it's so important. The point that you made about perception, we talk about that so much. And the perception you had of kind of clumping in senior living with nursing home and things like that, it's often, just a wrong perception. And so I'm so glad that you pointed that out to our listeners who also maybe new to even considering senior living. That's a growing group of our listeners. And what you've kind of described is what we've often said senior living is, and it's kind of this perfect world of hospitality meets healthcare, right? And so your background and many people like you, it's exciting to me to have the emergence of that young, exciting new perspective to push our industry into the next generation of senior housing and this industry that we love. So I've got a question for you. As you kind of come in and you've gotten your feet wet, you've gotten very established, and you're seeing what senior living has done and is doing from a recruitment standpoint, because you said you're very passionate about that side of it and attracting new talent to our industry. What are you seeing some of the things that we should be doing if you were to speak to the operators out there right now and people that are in your position without, I know you don't want to give away all your secret sauce, but pull back the veil a little bit and give some insight on what do you think we should be doing from a messaging and from a recruitment standpoint for those that need to join our industry?
Well, I think a lot of it is re-educating the population of what senior living is. So, what I've done, it's not just focusing on CNA classes or nursing, people graduating, getting their, LVN degree. It's, going into some of these programs such as, pathway programs that high schools are offering. So I think that high schools finally got smart and said, not everyone's going to college. Or maybe that after you graduate high school, you don't have the luxury of going to a 4-year school. So they've started doing more programs that are called CTE programs here in Texas, or pathway programs, where it could be culinary related, it could be clinical. They have all other types as well. Some schools even have hospitality programs. So when you graduate high school, you have a skill set now. Or there's one high school I was working with recently that upon graduation of high school, I think they only have a couple classes left to take. They partner with a local college that they already graduate pretty much with their nursing degree. So imagine being 18, graduating high school, and now I can be an LVN at a community. So, what we've really been doing is going into these high schools and getting them early, planting that seed early, whether they choose us or not. At least re-educating them of what senior living is. Because I go in, I ask them, have you ever been to a senior living community? And, just the responses I get from people, I visited my grandma or grandpa. And when they start describing the community, I said, it's not really what we are. And I ask them like, well, what was your experience in the community? And you hear all kinds of stuff from these kids. It's funny because they're like, it's dusty. There's old people. It smells bad when you walk in. And then I start telling them about what our communities really are and show them the pictures of inside the communities. I show them real life pictures. I show them our Carrigan and Lake Jackson does ice sculptures. The chef there actually does it in-house. And, they're just really impressed. That's not what they imagined senior living was going to be. That's not what they experienced when they went into a community. And we've gotten interns out of it. We've gotten volunteers. I just want to go over and help at maybe the Christmas party that they're holding, or, maybe with life enrichment activities. So it's re-educating. And even if they graduate high school and choose a different career path, I want to plant that seed early where they remember us. So maybe the career path they choose, maybe they go skilled nursing or hospital setting, and they say, it's not really for me. I want to be happy every day in what I do. And that's something I tell the kids when I go into the classroom. Whatever path you take in life, do something you love. It might not always pay the highest salary, but, go into it doing what you love, and you're never going to wake up having a bad day at work. You're going to wake up saying, I love this. I'm excited to go to work today. And it's more than a paycheck at that point. So, that's the piece of advice I give the kids when I go in the classrooms, but just re-educating them. And, in colleges, we've been going in hospitality programs such as like Texas Tech, the Hilton College, U of H. Now, U of H also has a satellite campus out in San Antonio. So we've started going out there to the Hilton College. And I mean, you have food and beverage managers going to school. You have, executive chefs. You have, I want to be activities, or, in their world, it's an event planner, but we have activities in our community. So I just have to, show them how it translates into our world. And then, sometimes it's reminding them eventually one day you're going to grow up and want a family and a work-life balance. And, and I ask them, usually in the classes, I say, who in here are servers, bartenders, who's closing the restaurants at 2 a.m.? And I get those hands raised. I get, I work, 6 days a week. I close the bar down at 2 a.m. By the time you close it down, do inventory, you don't get home till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then you turn around and do it again. And I let them know, hey, our residents eat by 5, 6 o'clock. You're getting home at 8. You can see your significant other and put the kids to bed. Talk about a work-life balance. And we've definitely gotten a lot of students that are intrigued by that. They're thinking big picture, future, not just now in the moment. So we've hired a few, individuals from Texas Tech, Hilton College, and some others that, see that bigger picture and, want more than maybe what they were thinking that they could have.
I think you touch on such an important piece, obviously, that it's part of our mission statement, which is education. You make it seem like super easy and conversational and give very practical ways. I think one of the maybe barriers mentally for so many people in our industry that are trying to recruit and attract great talent is maybe they just perceive that it's more difficult than what it is. Approaching the educational institutions, and even thinking, I think it's really important. So often our focus is probably on the college. I think you make a very interesting point of planting that seed even much earlier. And I forgot how you just phrased that, but basically talking about, hey, maybe they're going to start a first career and they don't choose senior living and they go somewhere else, but then they come back to us to plant that seed. I think each one of us, even right now, started doing something else that we thought was what we really wanted to do and what we loved. And now we're here doing actually what we love and what we're passionate about. So I think those are really relevant points.
So let me ask this, with spinning off of your last part of your conversation, our world has changed quite a bit. And for people in the restaurant business and the hotel business, it has been totally devastated. What is the opportunity that senior living has now as far as a recruitment effort for those folks?
I'm going to be honest. We're definitely still hiring, but it's been a roller coaster. And I'm sure some other communities are experiencing this as well. I'm not going to say it's been a piece of cake by any means, even with all these individuals being laid off or furloughed. So I think when everything happened, I quickly, reached out to a lot of my hotel friends here in the area and said, we're hiring. If you have housekeepers, servers, send them my way. And literally, I don't think my phone would stop ringing in the morning all the way until like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then I'd have to put it on silent. I'm like, okay, if you're calling me that late, leave a voicemail. I'll call you back in the morning. Because it was like all day long, I was getting, whether it was a server calling me, a bartender, a housekeeper saying, I live paycheck to paycheck. I have to provide for my family. I can't be without a job. And my GM just gave me your phone number and said that you're hiring. So I think being Houston based, we definitely have communities, Austin, San Antonio, Arkansas, Oklahoma. We have them all over, but we have so many more communities in Houston that I had more variety to work with. So if you've ever been to Houston, it takes an hour to get anywhere. So I was able to find a community maybe close to them, even if it wasn't a full-time opportunity, part-time PRN to help them out. Like I said, it's been a roller coaster. So all of that came in like right at the beginning. I would post a job, was getting hundreds of applications. Like I would post a front desk position and within a day have 120 applications for that one position. So, at the beginning, we were getting lots of applications coming through. We were placing a lot of individuals that, needed a job immediately. And then it went like this. And everyone started getting their unemployment checks. And then it was hard to compete with that. And we started, as a company, we decided to do hero pay, which bumped everyone up, which helped. But it's hard to compete with what some individuals, I think, were getting from unemployment. And then you have to think about, if you were in that position and your hotel's now been shut down and you're saying to your hotel's now told you you're going to be furloughed for 30 days. Now you get your unemployment check and you're saying, you know what, I could make it 30 days. I could make it until the hotel reopens. And that's what we saw a lot of, is we saw some individuals that said, hey, I think I'm just going to wait it out. And I knew a lot of these people. Some people did come work at our communities that I knew from previously working with them. And some just were very honest with me and said, I thought about it. It's just a month break. I'm going to take this month to really, enjoy time with my family, do some at-home projects, and then the hotel reopen. So we saw that where it kind of dipped off with individuals looking for employment. And, and I ask the question when I go out to restaurants, because restaurants are reopening and I'm not much of a hermit, if you can tell. I'm not good at staying home. So I definitely have been going to restaurants. I talked to the server. I asked those questions. I went to a restaurant the other day and said, hey, when y'all reopened, how many individuals actually came back? And she goes, of 30 of us, 6, and she goes, they're staying at home. They're kind of riding it out and going to wait to see, what happens. And, I'm starting to see where things are picking back up. I think individuals are figuring out this isn't a 30-day pandemic. This isn't going to be a 60-day. It's going to be longer. So I've had my break. Now I'm going to start looking for employment again. So we've kind of seen a wave take effect, but it's getting competitive again because now restaurants and hotels are reopening. But like I keep reminding even our staff and our directors that hotels, their occupancy is still low. So let's say you have a housekeeper come to you, say, hey, my hotel just reopened. They called me and said, I can come back. Hold on. Yes, we want you to go back. If you're happy there and want to be there, definitely go back. But would you like to stay on part-time with us? Would you like to stay on PRN? Because, this week they might have high occupancy, but next week they probably won't. And I have a lot of friends in the industry. I have a lot of GM friends, and I ask those questions. What's your occupancy look like this week? And I have friends that say, hey, this week it was 30%, which maybe you need a couple extra housekeepers. But I'm like, well, what's next week look like? Well, it drops to 4%. So what are your housekeepers going to be doing? They're going to be without work. So that's why I keep reminding, like even our directors, is that if we have individuals leaving to go back to hotels or restaurants, talk to them about that. Be honest with them that, we're probably not going to see the travel industry bounce back for a little while, and senior living is not going anywhere. It's a stable work environment. We always are going to have seniors. They're always going to need a place to live. This is consistent work, so I've been talking to them about this. So that way, hopefully we can retain some of the staff so they don't just right away go back to hotels, because what's going to happen is they're going to go back and then this week's going to be busy and next week they're not going to have any work and they're going to be back to square one, or they're going to be furloughed again or laid off. So we've seen some waves take place. I don't know if you've heard this from other individuals or not.
Yeah, I have. I think you're giving us a great insight though. So I have another question for you as we're wrapping up our time here together. But as you have been part of the hospitality industry that's come into senior living, as you now are also talking with people in the hospitality industry, recruiting them into our industry, what are some things that the senior living industry, kind of speaking to all operators, are there things that we've got to do better in addition to educating from, even it could be things like salary or benefits or how we're communicating the education, like what platforms we're using, like what do we need to be doing to up our game that we can learn from the hospitality industry on how they've recruited their talent? Like how can we do better as an industry?
So I will say that, I think that the advantage that senior living has is really what I just mentioned a while ago, is the stability. Even during the last recession, senior living didn't take that hard of a hit compared to other, industries. So you have that working on your side. I think the biggest thing, as I'm getting into this and we're recruiting and, things that I think we could work on is I think hospitality does a really good job of, recognizing when they have, like, they interview a person, how they see the potential in that person, kind of a diamond in a rough. I think about, you go back thinking about maybe your first job, what you did. And, I remember I'm from a small town, not many options in my small town where to work. And I worked at like a Dairy Queen for 5 years because there weren't options. And I remember my first hotel, I'm still friends with the food and beverage manager. The person that, interviewed me took a chance on me. She saw that diamond in the rough. They had to polish me up a little bit and teach me the ways. But I think that's something that we can do a little bit better in senior living, is identifying those people and providing them the mentoring and the guidance and the training to make them those senior living professionals. And I remind our team a lot of that is, remember like where you started. And because sometimes they come back to me and say, well, they don't have the experience I'm looking for. I really want someone that already has worked in senior living. I'm like, but do you really? Because what happens is we just keep rotating between all the different companies that are out there. We just keep rotating the same people. But what you need to do is, look at the potential that someone has and bring them in and train them up. And I remind them, hey, remember, y'all took a chance on me. And so I don't know if I'm sure some other companies have programs in place. That's something that we're definitely looking at, like, manager and training programs. I think that hospitality does that really well to recruit those college kids. All those college kids really like that title, manager and training or internship. That's something that we definitely have in the plans for the future to really help with the recruitment aspect. But I think that's something that we could, improve upon is, seeing the potential in people and training them.
Oh, that's such great insight. And I would kind of classify that as hiring for the heart, hiring for the heart. We have a mission-driven industry. What an opportunity we have. If we're not leading the way in hiring for the heart, we should be. So hospitality meets healthcare and hiring for the heart. That's my takeaway. A couple of them today. Kim, what an awesome conversation with you. Thanks for spending time with us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Great to connect with you, and great takeaway, Josh. That's probably going to be the title of this show, is hiring from the heart, or for the heart. So great conversation, a lot of great wisdom here, and just some practical ideas for people to put into effect right now as our world continues to change daily. Any final comments? You're dealing with a lot of people that have been working very hard for the last couple of months without very much time off. A lot of heroes out there. Any final comments to the people on the front lines?
I just want to thank you for what you do every day. I mean, we talk about this every day. We have daily calls with our teams, and I get very emotional because they're literally the heart. They're the front line for our residents, protecting them every day. And I admire what they do every day, the courage they have going in. And, it's tough some days. I'm sure y'all hear it from, your contacts in senior living. It's tough. And they literally, have to be the person that's the face of the community, the face for the residents, and ensure that we're keeping them safe and healthy. And, just thank you for what you do every day. I mean, we couldn't do it without them.
That's great. Thank you so much. And that really resonates with us. And for everybody out there that's listening, we just want them to know that we believe in them and that we're sending our love and our prayers and our support. And we are committed to continuing to bring on great people like Kimberly Varley, corporate recruiter at RCM out of Houston. Thank you for your time. We'll make sure that we connect with you in our show notes. And if anybody out there wants to know more, they can go to btgvoice.com. Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap.
For a full library of episodes, merchandise, and the 2020 conference tour schedule, visit btgvoice.com. Join the conversation on social media by following @BTGVoice, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode.